Hi everybody, Debbie here with Garden Style. So today I thought I'd kind of show you what I've been up to here in the February garden. I'm seeing signs of spring, and I was going to show you some pruning things that I've been doing over the last couple of days, and of course a lot of cleanup. We've had a couple major windstorms blow through here, and needless to say, I have lots of trees around me, as you can see right behind me here. So lots of branches and debris, thousands of pine cones coming out of the trees. So I've been busy cleaning those up. But thought I would show you some signs of spring that I'm seeing, as well as late winter blooms, and give you kind of an update as to what you can be doing right now in your garden here in February. It's kind of a follow-up to the Grow More in 24 series that I've been doing. So I'm going to spin around here and show you a few things. One of these beauties right here. So right down here, look at this. All the hellebores are starting to bloom. And what I need to do now is come out here and I start trimming off some of these really icky leaves like this. I just start pruning them back, pull out all this dead stuff. And once I'm done doing that, I'm going to pull some of this mulch away that you see here. This is that fine bark mulch that I love to put around my plants at least once every 2 or 3 years. And then I'm going to lay some fertilizer around the base of it. And by cleaning up some of these icky leaves like you see here, I'll be able to clean up the plant, and this little hellebore here is going to bloom its little heart out probably until April. So we want to get them cleaned up. Another one. Look at this. Lots of buds. So that's going to be blooming here real soon. And another one right here. And I've done some cleanup on a few of these, but I missed one. So I'll come back and I'll clean him up real quick too. Now here in the Northwest, we have lots of native ferns, like what you see behind right here. And this is a western sword fern, and you'll start to notice where some icky leaves are in here. So this is the time of the year to go down and start cutting those back. You can go all the way down to the base of the plant and cut those out. Now there have been some years where I've had the entire fern plant brown, and usually that comes from lots of snow, freezing. But this year, we've actually had a pretty mellow winter, so he's actually in pretty good shape. I'm just going to trim out some of those yucky leaves, like what you see right there, and he'll be nice and green, and he'll start sending up even more growth as we get into spring. So that's what you can do with your native ferns. If you have a few of those sitting in your yard, go ahead and start trimming them back. And that'll help you get ahead of the game as far as getting cleanup done in your yard. Now as I pan across here, this is something I'm dealing with constantly because of the trees. So this is what I've been doing. It's going around picking up twigs and limbs and that sort of thing, and doing some cleanup. Look at this, another hellebore. And he got a little beat up from the freeze that we had, but he'll be okay. He'll come back, and as soon as I see him throwing up some more new growth, then I can cut out more of those icky leaves. I'm going to leave a few of them just because they need them for photosynthesis. But yeah, seeing signs of little buds coming up everywhere. So that's pretty exciting. And here comes a few other things I'm going to share with you. Okay, so I spent a good portion of my day yesterday just cleaning out the corner bed here so I could see my rhodies again. And for some of you who live here in the Northwest, you may have a lot of this. And this is native salal, S-A-L-A-L. I'll put the whole name of it down there at the bottom for you. I love this as a ground cover. This particular native salal actually gets pretty tall. It can get about 3 to 4 feet tall. And it spreads itself through underground roots or rhizomes. And it can be a real pain in the neck if you don't keep it under control. And I've actually ignored this corner quite a bit over the last few years. So I had salal all underneath these two rhodies right here. And I had to go through and literally cut it all out, pull it out so that you could see the plants again. And I don't mind a little bit of it, and so I left a little clump of it here. But you have to keep an eye on this stuff because it will spread super fast. You know, it's tough as nails. It grows here in the Northwest year-round, and you'll find this in the understory of a lot of our woods and things. But man, it can really get out of control. But I enjoy it as a native plant as long as I can keep it under control, which means I have to come around here at least once a year and start cutting it back, or it starts to send its roots all along the ground here. And before you know it, you can't see your regular plants. Now with rhodies, this is something you don't want to trim in the spring because they're all sending up their blooms right now. So if I went to cut this back, I would lose all my blooms for the spring. So I wait until it's done blooming, and if I feel the shrub needs to be trimmed back, that's what I'll do. And this is a variegated version. And it's a beautiful purple flower. But you can see all the flower buds that are forming now. So the last thing I want to do is to go and cut it back. So that's what I mean when I tell you guys, when you go out to start pruning and trimming things back, make sure you know what it is you have. And don't do any trimming if you're not sure. The safest thing to do is wait until the plant has done blooming and then go in and start doing any kind of trimming that you want to do. So anyway, down here you will see a native sword fern that I cut all the way back because it was just a disaster. It was nothing but brown. And you can see I still have some stuff in here I want to clean out. But for the most part, that's what I do. I'll cut it all the way back. And before you know it, you're going to see little fern fronds in there, and they're going to send up all their new growth. And this will be a glorious, beautiful, big fern here in about 6 to 8 weeks. So he looks a little lame at the moment, just a little mound of stems, but not for long. These are the kinds of things you can start doing in the Northwest in February. We'll start getting ahead of the game on some of this stuff and get things trimmed back. Okay, let me take you somewhere else. Okay, now normally I don't like to take pictures of how ugly the garden looks at this time of the year. But I'm doing this just to let you know that you're not alone, that we are all feeling a little overwhelmed by all the cleanup that we have to do. And my next video, I'm going to be doing a before and after before I tackle this garden and start cleaning it up. But here's a perfect example of things you can start doing now. For instance, this is Japanese forest grass, which I let die back on itself because it helps to protect the inside. But I can literally grab a handful of this and just pull it out, and it'll clean itself up, literally. And then I'll take a pair of pruners and I'll trim some of these stems back to the ground, and of course give it a really good raking, and that will start to clean itself up. But yeah, lots to do, and everything is so soggy because it's been raining. But here's something else that I'm going to be tackling in my next video, and that is hostas. Now right now this is just a big, icky, slimy mess. So I'll be coming in here, I'll be pruning all of these stems off here, but you will notice, like right here, this is already new growth that's starting to come up through the ground, and you can see some of the other green that's starting to come through here. So I'm going to be digging this hosta out this year and actually dividing it, because this thing will turn into a monster. One of its leaves can be about 2, almost 3 feet across. It's so big. And it was literally choking out, you know, some of the ferns here and getting to a point where you couldn't see anything else. So in my next video, I'll take a before picture and I'll come through here and I'll start cleaning things out. And I'll show you how to dig up one of these hostas and actually divide them so that you can spread them out to other parts of the yard. So there's my project, hopefully, if it's not raining. And I can cover that with you folks and show you what to do. But do not despair. What I do when I get started out here is I just pick a bed, pick a spot, and I intend to spend a good 2 or 3 hours out here getting all this cleaned up. But you've seen, if some of you have seen some of my older videos, you've seen this same strip over and over again. You wouldn't believe how it fills itself out by the time April and May gets here. So Things like this. Here you go. Hydrangeas that need to be cut back. So I'll be covering a lot of that in my next video, but look at all the leaves. It has been so warm this winter. Look at that. It's freaking them out. So I'll show you how to go about cutting back hydrangeas, dividing some hostas, and then we'll take an after picture just so you can see what this will look like when it's all cleaned up again. Holy smokes, makes you tired just looking at it. So anyway, those are some things I wanted to cover with you in this video. Veggie beds, raised beds. This is another area I'll be working on. And what I want to do now is clean up the debris that's on the insides of them. I'm going to be adding some new compost, most likely a fish compost. That seems to be what I have the best luck with. And here in about a week or two, I'm going to be planting my seeds. Things like lettuce and peas and spinach and carrots and radishes. So I'll definitely be covering a little bit of that with you. But I also have a cat who loves to come in here and do his business. So this year, I'm going to be laying some deer fencing over the tops of them. And that's something else that I will cover in my video and show you how I go about doing that to keep the cat out of the garden until my plants can get established. The little rascal doesn't seem to matter what I do. He wants to come in here and make a mess. Look at that. I've got garlic coming up. Yay! Now here's a fine mess for you. This is actually catmint, and this is something I want to tackle here pretty soon and get all of this cut back. And the reason why is that it's already starting to send up new growth. Look at that. So I'm starting to see signs of things coming alive already, and as soon as you start to see things like this, you can go ahead and start trimming a lot of this back. So Perennials is another great place to get started. And as you can see, I have quite a few of them here in the old winter garden, and a lot of cleanup to do. But now's the time to start raking up all the excess leaves and things, because these are just going to harbor bugs and fungus. So the sooner I can get out here on a really nice day and start cleaning some of this up, the better. Not to mention it just looks better. But this is the encouraging part. When you start to see this, first couple of weeks in February, oh, just let you know, spring's not far away. Here's another issue that I think just about everybody suffers from here in the Northwest, and that is moss in their lawns. Look at this. So it doesn't seem to matter what I do every year. Look at this. Isn't that craziness? Look at the moss in there. So February is the perfect time to start putting down lime. Super sweet has a lot of times a type of lime which is in a granular form, so it makes it easier to spread out on the lawn. Look at all the pine cones. See? So anyway, for moss conditions in your lawn, the reason we're having an issue here is here in the Northwest with all the rain that we get, it just literally washes out all of the nutrients out of the grass. So I put some lime down, which helps to neutralize the acidity in the soil. And that way I can get started with regular fertilizer as I get into March. But go ahead and start liming out your lawns now. And the idea is to reduce the acidity levels in your lawns, and that way you can actually start to feed. And I always reseed, have to do it every year, because once that moss gets established, like this does here, once you've killed it off, it'll start to turn black. And yeah, it looks a little ugly at first, but then you go through, you rake it out, or better yet, thatch it. I'm going to have some landscapers come in and just thatch out my entire lawn this year because it really needs it. I haven't done it in a while, which is one reason the moss is also getting established like it is. But I don't panic over it. I certainly don't get too upset if I have a little bit of moss sitting in my lawn. It is just a normal, natural thing that happens here in the Northwest. And I have just decided over the last few years, you just can't stress over it. You do the best you can to eliminate it, reseed your lawn, and it'll come back, believe it or not. By May and June, you're going to see how nice and thick and lush your lawn actually is. But that's the very first treatment you want to put on your lawn is lime. And that will help to reduce that acidity and prep it and get it ready for regular fertilizer in March, as well as reseeding. So, good luck. Okay, last but not least, this is another issue I wanted to show you. So we had a terrible freeze. We got down to, I don't know, 12, 13 degrees, and it didn't get above freezing for about 2 or 3 days, and you can see what happened. A lot of these shrubs started getting their new growth on them because it had been so warm during the month of December, and that new growth is really susceptible to a freeze. So what do? And look at this. This shrub is so hardy. This is a viburnum. It's still sending up new growth, and that's since the freeze. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to step back here so you can get an idea of the size. Sits underneath a window, so what I want to do is take at least a third of this hedge down. So I'm going to be starting up here, and I'm probably going to cut it back down to here. You usually don't want to cut more than a third at a time, as you might kill the shrub. But in this case, this one really needs it. It got frozen really bad on its tips. But this is typical February stuff you can start to get ahead of and start to prune and shape a lot of your hedges and your shrubs that you know are evergreen. This one blooms a little bit, but it's nothing significant. I just have it here, you know, for the greenery more than anything. But there's a real good example of what a nice hard freeze will do to some of your established shrubs, especially after a nice warm December like we just experienced. But no worries, this thing is already showing it wants to go. So I want to start trimming this, and I'm probably going to treat it as well for powdery mildew. We had such a long dry summer last year that a lot of the older leaves got damaged from it. Some of that you can see right here. But it's that white, powdery, kind of chalky type of mildew that will collect on your trees and shrubs, especially after a long dry summer. And just got to get on it and start treating it, and that's what I'm going to do. A lot of the spores from powdery mildew will just hang around on the stems and the leaves during the wintertime while they're dormant. And then, as soon as you start to get your new growth, you see it starting to pop back again. So I'm going to spray this with a copper fungicide, and I'm just going to soak it till it's dripping wet. And that way you're treating the ground as well as the stems and the leaves, and that'll help eliminate that problem. So hopefully I can show you an after picture, because this poor hedge just took a beating this past winter. But no worries, it'll spring back. Alright you guys, so there you go. There's some of the issues that I'm dealing with in my yard. And just wanted to reiterate what I had already covered in my last video as to what you can start doing here during the month of February. And my biggest thing is pruning, starting to getting things cleaned up, of course laying some lime on my moss-coated lawn, etc., etc. We all have our own little issues in our yards. And I just thought I'd share with you today some of the stuff that I'm dealing with. And I hope to get accomplished before the end of this month, because by the time March gets here, holy moly, then your due list like triples. So get out there, get your hands dirty, get as much done as you can while we have days like this where it's not raining, and you'll feel so much better by the time you get to March. So looking forward to discussing some before and afters in my next video, how to divide hostas, etc., etc. These are all February things we can start doing. And meanwhile, of course, if you have any questions, any comments, you can leave those in the description box down below, or you can send me an email to gardenstyleinwest@gmail.com. Otherwise, feel free to go to our website at sunnycrestnursery.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter. We've already sent one out, but I have a feeling a second one will be coming out just a little bit after Valentine's Day. And believe it or not, fruit trees arrive tomorrow at the nursery. Another thing we can do during the month of February is start planting fruit trees, flowering trees, any type of trees and shrubs. It's plenty safe to go ahead and put them in the yard. All right, you guys, take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.